Hi everyone, welcome to the Reclaimed Ranch. My name is Tara, and for today's video, it's going to be a collaboration with a bunch of awesome creators from Sonnet's Garden Blooms membership group, and the theme is Snowman. So this is going to be a fun one. I have a few projects today that turned out super cute, and I know you're going to love them. And so be sure to click on the link in the description box below and see what everybody else has created as well. I hope you enjoy, and let me know what your favorite one is going to be for today. Okay, so this first project, I got the idea from Angie from Pepper Creek Cottage on YouTube. She does such an amazing job with her snowmen, and they're so darling. And so she uses clay. And so you take a foam, I had a half round, and I went ahead and covered it with some clay that I had. And this clay I bought because I didn't have the type I was looking for, and I'm not really impressed with this clay at all. So I think I'm just going to give it to my daughter to play with. But anyway, you can see that it shrank, it cracked, probably because I didn't cover the entire thing, so part of it's my fault. So I was going to just use my joint compound to cover the cracks, and it ended up just falling completely apart. So on to plan B. I'm going to just use my joint compound to cover the entire thing. And I'm taking my hot knife because if you see there's a little red coffee mug with some clay that I had painted. And I'm going to have this little snowman that I'm making. She had it sitting in a little cup of hot cocoa with marshmallows, and it was just so darling. And I'm going to tell you again, her rendition's way better than mine. But, I had fun with this, and he turned out cute, but I think I might redo it. And you'll see why. And that's okay. I mean, these are just for fun anyway, just to have, some fun home decor. And I just love snowmen. So I'm going to use my joint compound. I'm going to just take a good amount and go all over, have a nice thick coat. And I kind of like the lumpy bumpiness of this, and so I'm going to roll with it. So once this dries, I'm going to take some sandpaper and just lightly rub all of the really pointy sharp pieces off and kind of keep it just like that. And so yeah, I gotta let it dry for a little bit before I can move on to the next step. But I did with the clay, you can see in the upper top part there's a little stick with some marshmallows. I made little mini marshmallows out of the clay and we're going to paint those white, and that's going to be floating in the hot cocoa. So that part turned out good. So I am just using Fusion's Picket Fence to paint these little guys white, and she made one. I tell you, this is the one I want to really do, but she made a campfire, an old campfire tin. She just printed out the logo and put it on a tin, and she made this little campfire scene with these snowmen, and it is so darling. So I might make that one for my home decor as well. Anyway, so back to the video. So I'm just going to let these guys dry, and then the next step will be to sand down and prepare the snowman for placing it onto the hot cocoa cup. And I'm going to be using some super fine grit sandpaper, just lightly taking down, like I said, just knocking off basically the high points so it's not so pokey. And I did it, I was a little impatient, it wasn't completely dry. So I'm just kind of using my hands to rub it around and make it complete. And the bottom part I did, like I said, with that hot knife, I carved out an area so that it sits a little bit better on the cup. And she actually did it way better. She carved it in a way it has its own angle that it's sitting at. And you'll see what I'm talking about here. But yeah, so, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to use my heat gun to speed up the process. But I'm going to go ahead and attach it using some toothpicks, and I used Aleene's original tacky glue because I was all out of my Titebond Quick and Thick, which is my main go-to glue for everything. So, but this seems to work just as well. And so I put a little bit in with the toothpick, and then figured out I'm going to have a little bit of a tough time trying to get that on without putting it in the cup first. So go ahead and place these 2 toothpicks in the cup, put some glue around the base, and then stick that on. And then we're going to do the same thing with the top part. I'm just going to take a couple toothpicks, insert it. The top part I did kind of carve out or cut off the bottom so it has more of a level base to put on top so that it sits better. I did carve out a little bit of the inside, and so it kind of molds to the top of one instead of just having it look like it's just balancing on top. And I did put a couple toothpicks in for some legs. So this whole project just makes me laugh because I had this vision of it coming out way different than it did, but it's so funny and cute that I just have to keep it. Like the legs, I almost thought about taking the legs off to make it look a little better, but you'll see what I mean at the very end. He's just super cute. We'll just say that. So once I get the toothpicks in and the glue on, I do go in with my Fusion's Picket Fence, the white color, and paint him all white. And then we're going to use some of my clear glitter that I've been using on a lot of my Christmas projects lately. And I'm going to make him look nice and glistening and glittery. And for his nose, I ended up just using, I have a bunch of little tiny sticks that I'm going to just kind of whittle the end off to make it pointy. And then I'm going to just glue it in, and I used DIY's paint in the color Summer Crush. It's like a perfect orange. And so I used that to color the nose. I'm just using hot glue to glue him in. And then these are the legs. Look at how scrawny they are, you guys. What was I thinking? I have this nice little chubby snowman sitting in a hot cocoa cup, and he's got the skinniest legs. Oh, that's okay though. You know, you live and learn. It was fun. Either I can just take those off and make them chunkier, or just leave them off and it kind of looks like he's melting into the hot chocolate. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. But, you know, it is kind of funny. So I'll let you enjoy some music while you see these little chicken legs come to life. Okay, so here he is all glittered up, and I'm going to go in with Fusion's Rose Water to give him some rosy cheeks. Seriously, guys, every time I see him, I just laugh. Those legs. I can't help it. Um, yeah, so we're just gonna paint on a face, and and then I do end up giving him a hat and scarf. I had some fabric from Joann's from last year. It's red ticking fabric, and it works just perfectly for his little hat because he was a little bald, and he's of course wanting to warm up, so he's sitting in hot chocolate, you know. So for his face, I just used Fusion's cast iron, and all of my Fusion project or products are on my website if you're interested in those. And I gave him some eyes and did a little mouth. He's smiling, and he's got a cute face. I just can't get over those legs. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, anyway, okay, let's get serious here. So I am just going to use some hot glue to put those little mini marshmallows floating around in the backside. And there is a couple of gaps where he's sitting, but we'll fill those in just a bit. So here's that ticking stripe fabric. I thought it was just super cute for a little hat. I'm going to cut it into a rectangle. I'm going to make it, fold it into thirds there, and then glue it shut. And gonna just take a little piece of twine. I think it's just red and white twine. It's not really going to be noticeable anyway. So I'm going to tie a knot and pull it tight, and then I'll cut the top off. Now I did cut it a little too long this first go round, so I end up doing it again, making it a little bit shorter. And what I should have done was packed a little bit of fluff on the inside of the hat to make it stay like big and bulky, but it's a little late now. That's okay. So I just ended up hot gluing it to the top of his head all the way around and gave him a little scarf. And I think, I think he's pretty cute. I don't know. I do want to give him a name, but I'm kind of torn on that. So maybe you guys can comment some suggestions for his name. Oh, anyway. Okay. So we'll go ahead and glue this all together, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and the top part of his hat. I'm going to cut little pieces, just little strips in there, and then take my fingers and kind of rub them together to make it more frayed, kind of more of that pom-pom look. And I do that same thing with the scarf at the end. They always have those little hanging pieces, so I'm just going to cut those and then fray them, and that makes it look a little bit more rustic. So for the little air pockets, you can't see it because he's sitting looking down, bird's eye view, but underneath him where I carved it out, there's some kind of air pockets between him and the mug. And so what I decided to do is I went and got my piping materials from my cake decorating stuff, and I put some of that joint compound into a piping bag and just kind of piped to make it look like whipped cream around those areas so that it kind of hides those. And then I just used my picket fence white color to make it look more like whipped cream. All right, on to project number 2. Now this is definitely my favorite for today's video. I found this cute little wooden cubby at a thrift store for $6, and it was a brown color. So what I'm going to do is go in with Fusion's Midnight Blue, give it one coat. I wanted it to not be completely covered because I want it more rustic vibe to it, and I am going to distress the corners and stuff anyway. So just doing a really quick coat just to cover most of that brown. And once that's set, then we're going to do a little snowman scene on the front there. Now this one I think is super cute. And again, I am going to be using the joint compound. instead of paint. And it gives it just a little more texture and makes it seem like it's a little bit more alive and fun. I love textures, if you haven't noticed. And I love doing these little totes, these little wooden crate tote things. They're so fun to do. Plus, you know, they're functional. Like, you can use them for holding art supplies or school supplies or napkins or just about anything, you know, home decor. Just put some greenery in there, florals, and they're just so cool and functional. So what I'm doing is just kind of mapping out where I want my snowman to be. And I'm going to go in with my joint compound and just make a snowman. Simple as that. So I did not do the arms, but I did do the nose. And I'm just using a little, I got this at the dollar store. It's just a little palette knife. And it's got a really skinny top, so I figured it'd be easier to get into that little nose area there. And I'm going to just it's maybe like 1/4 of an inch thick all the way around, but I want it to be textured, and so I'm just kind of patting it up and down, smearing it around, getting a nice texture on there. And then again, once it does dry, I'm going to just take a sandpaper real lightly and go over all the high spots and just rub those down. And we're going to paint him with the picket fence again. It's kind of all the same supplies. And then once he's done, I'm going to spackle some snow around him, and it's going to make it look like he's just having so much fun out in the snow and enjoying life. So with him, I did not use the glitter. on there. I didn't want to have glitter falling off everywhere if it was going to be used as a functional piece. So I just left him white, and then I'm going to go in with my rose water again and give him some little rosy cheeks, and I'm going to use the cast iron to give him a smile. And I did start with the little dots for a smile, but I ended up turning it into like just a one-line smile. I thought it looked a lot cuter than the dots on this one for some reason. And then what I'm going to do is, once I get him all set up here, I guess it looks kind of cute too that way, but for some reason I was just like, no, I want it more predominant. And then I'm going to tape off my handles there, and then I am going to flick some of that white paint back onto it to make it look like it's snowing on him. And so when you do this, the paint can go everywhere. So you definitely want to make sure to tape off any areas that you don't want the paint to be on. And it goes pretty far. I usually get it all over myself, as well as my ring light. It just goes everywhere. But it's just too cute not to have. So you just put some paint on there. A lot of times people will water it down, but mine was pretty watery anyway. Picket fence is a lot less thick than most of the other fusion paints because it doesn't have a ton of pigments in it. So now I'm just taking my little finger sander and I'm going to just distress the edges a little bit. And because fusion has its own sealer, I don't have to seal this. I did seal the nose because that was DIY. I took a little bit of my decoupage transfer gel that I had sitting on the desk here and just dabbed it on the nose, and that way that was sealed and completely done. Now this third project, I got one of these wooden signs, and I always pick these up at the thrift stores because they're pretty much complete. Like all you have to do is, you know, either paint it and do a different sign on top, like a transfer or decoupage, and then it's done. So these are super easy to do, and it just gives it a second life. So I am going to go in with, I think it was 3 coats, because picket fence is white and you're going over black. It's going to take a few coats to make it cover completely. And then this is the plaid, Christmas plaid from Recycle Papers that came in Sonnet's Garden Maker Box. And so I'm going to use that along with my Fusion Decoupage Transfer Gel to place the background on my board. And I'm going to do the starter strip where I start a little bit at a time and water it down. That's going to help create less bubbles and make it nice and flat. And then just keep working my way down. You don't want to put too thick of a strip of decoupage gel because then that can create some wrinkles in there. So you always start at the base and then put the paper on top and continue to use the decoupage gel on the top as well. And that will seal it completely in. So once that's done and dry, I'm going to take my little finger sander and go and remove the edges of the paper. And then we're going to paint a super cute little snowman on here. And snowman, I think, are some of the easiest things to paint as far as beginners go. Basically just 2 to 3 circles and a face and a hat, scarf, you're good. So I love doing snowman, especially with the kids, just because kids can get so frustrated if they're not looking the exact same as the parents or whoever's teaching them. And so I love doing snowman because they all look cute. So I'm actually going to do more of like a primitive style where he has his head and then he's got a long body. And so it's just going to make it a little bit different than the other snowmen that I've currently done. So go ahead and paint him. I did do 3 coats as well to make it a nice crisp white body. And then I'm going to go in with my Summer Crush again to make his nose. This is just my favorite as far as the coloring goes for the carrot noses. And of course the carrot noses is just a triangle. And that's again what makes it easy for the kids is you just use shape forms and then they can comprehend it a little bit easier. So did a couple coats of this, and then I went in with my rose water again for some cheeks and my cast iron for his eyes and his mouth. And then we're going to give him a hat and a scarf. So this one I did do the little beaded on the end. It's the other end of my paintbrush that I used. And so I'm just kind of tracing in a little bit of a scarf here just to kind of give me an idea. And then I'm going to go in with my, because it has some red in the background in that plaid, I'm using Fusion's Highlander, which is my absolute favorite red for Christmas time. It's just beautiful. It's a little bit darker than the bright red, but it's still a really, really good red for Christmas. And red seems to be just like white, where it does take a few coats to cover completely. So I did give it 3 good coats and let those dry. And then I'm going to be using my white to kind of outline and give his scarf some plaid stripes.
Headlights on the highway, if you only knew. Being back here always makes me think of you. When the world is sleeping, do you think of me? With the road ahead's coming back again, coming back to me. I remember the long drives, the late nights in your car. I remember it all. Windows down, empty streets, you were all I used to know. You and I, forever, forever ago. And you used to drive me home. Now I drive alone. You and I, forever, forever, forever ago. This town's so quiet, this time of year. With the road ahead's coming back again, coming back to me. I remember the long drives, the late nights in your car. I remember it all. Windows down, empty streets, you were all I used to know. You and I, forever, forever ago. And you used to drive me home. Now I drive alone. You and I, forever, forever, forever ago. I feel hard, I feel fast, hoping that my love for you will last forever, forever, forever ago. I feel hard, I feel fast, hoping that my love for you will last forever, forever, forever. Windows down, empty streets, you were all I used to know. You and I, forever, forever ago. And you used to drive me home. Now I drive alone. You and I, forever, forever, forever
So you can see here that I changed my mind on the hat. I felt it was just, there's just too much red and white. So I ended up going with cast iron on the hat there. And now I'm just taking whatever was left on my brush and lightly rubbing it around the edges, kind of give them more of that rustic, primitive look, make it look like it's kind of shadowy. And I do it around the face as well because he's just too bright white. Like normally snow, I mean, out in the woods, yeah, it's going to be bright white, but in our yards, not so much. You got mud and dirt mixed in with it. So anyway, we're going to just highlight a couple of areas, and then he is all set. Now I could have put some kind of saying down at the bottom, but again, this year I'm kind of just doing things a little bit more simplified. So I think he turned out cute the way he is. And it's a good shelf sitter, a backdrop for a vignette. And so on to the next project. So this one is going to be my last one. I did see a Pinterest photo with a super cute little idea. So I have these little tiny planter pots, terracotta pots, and I'm gonna create a little snow cone out of it, or snow cone or ice cream cone, whatever you want to call it. So this is just some extra batting that I had laying around, and I am going to create my texture using this batting on a foam ball. And again, you can use clay. I think that's probably what they used in theirs, but just gonna hot glue some batting around. And then again, I did the same thing where I cut the top one, I cut the base off a little bit and carved it out so that it will sit a lot better on that next snowball. And then I'm just going to use hot glue to glue the snowballs together, one on top of another, and then that bottom one is going to be glued to the terracotta pot. And I found this really cool ribbon. It's a velvet ribbon, but it's like a sage color, really pretty green, at Hobby Lobby for 40% off. So I got sage, red, and white. And now we're just going to paint on a face. And with it being like a cotton, you have to kind of go over it a couple times to make sure that it actually looks like it's a face. So we're just going to put some eyes, and I'm going to use those little wooden dowels that you use to join furniture together. And I'm taking my little miter shears here. These are also, that miter shears is in my affiliates link if you're interested. I have a hard time cutting things with my hands. They've got carpal tunnel and they're getting a little arthritic, so it makes it a lot easier. And so again, going in with my favorite orange, Summer Crush, and going to paint that, dry it, and then just hot glue it in. So the next part is I'm going to add a little tag on the front of him, and I have these little wooden round pieces that are pretty small. I got them either at the bins or at a Goodwill, in with a bunch of things, and I'm going to cut a little hole in it. And I got this tool off of Amazon as well. It's just a leather hole punch. And I'm going to go in with my Fusion Spell Wood because it's not the exact same color as that sage scarf, but it's in the same family. And so I thought a little bit lighter tone would make it pop a little bit easier. And then this is just a paint pan I got from Walmart, and I'm going to put 2 scoops on it. And then I'm going to hang it with some ribbon around his neck. And the 2 scoops I left just like this, but then when I got it on him, I was like, oh, it needs a little bit more. So I ended up doing the dash, dot, dot, dash, dot, dot around the edge and made it a little bit more whimsical. So it turned out pretty dang cute, I think. Well, what do you think? First project, I tell you what, I just still cannot stop laughing every time I walk by it, but you'll have to let me know what you think in the comments below. I would love to hear all your suggestions on if I should fix him or if I should leave him and what to name him. But definitely my favorite is the wooden tote. I think it just turned out super cute. And so I'm actually expecting my second grandbaby, a little girl, this weekend. And so I'm hoping to be able to get a video out for Tuesday, but if not, that's probably the reason why. And so, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll see you for sure sometime next week. Take care, y'all. Bye.